What's up guys, Jeff Cavalier, AthleanX.com. Today I want to talk about wrist pain. By far one of the most common areas that you can suffer from some discomfort, and if you're trying to lift around it, I can tell you this, it's probably going to make it very difficult if not impossible. So what we want to do is show you some ways that you can fix it depending upon where it is in the first place, and then secondly, take some of those more popular exercises that it occurs with and show you what to do about it. So first of all, if I come over here, the thing I want to look at is where am I feeling the pain when my wrist is moving, okay? Do I get it directly in the wrist or do I get it more down into the forearm here? If you're feeling front side forearm pain, okay, down here, when you're doing something with your wrist and your wrist is bending back, then likely you're looking at some sort of a restriction in the tissue and muscles on this side of the forearm. Means that they need to be addressed. And one of the easiest and quickest ways you can do that is if you're getting that discomfort when you bend your wrist back, it's probably some flexibility or mobility issue in those tissues, like I said. So you can take your forearm, put it up against a squat rack just like this, and find the sore spot. Okay, once I find that sore spot there, then what I want to do is compress it and then use my wrist to just move it around and basically floss those muscles up against that. So if I have that tight sore spot there with compression and I do this, even if I just did back and forth with my wrist, you can see that those muscles are basically running up and down, contracting and extending up and underneath this compressed area, so I get some of that relief in there. Okay, you should feel it be a little bit sore, but then when I come out of there and start pressing, it should feel a little bit of relief. The second most popular area that you're going to feel some discomfort is actually in the wrist itself, in the carpal bones, when I bend my wrist backwards. That's where you're going to have most of the issues. And one of the things that you can do there that I've showed before, I'll show you it again, because it kind of works right away, is a self-mobilization. So you can take your wrist, and we realize that the radius is going to be longer than the ulna, the two bones here that make up the forearm. So if this is longer, what we do is we take our thumb and our finger, we go right around it, right above those bones. You'll see that there's like a shelf that you can literally rest your fingers in. And what you're going to do is just distract the wrist bones themselves by squeezing. When I squeeze here, you'll feel a little distraction. In other words, you'll create some space between the end of these two bones and the wrist bones themselves. So now with this distraction, realizing that the angle is going to be a little bit upwards because we know that the radius is longer, we do this. We pull this way, so I'm sliding with this finger up in this direction. So squeeze and then slide up here. Now I've created a little bit of room, and I come here and I just lean into the wrist. Okay? Then reset. Squeeze, slide up, and then lean into extension. And you'll see that you get instantly more extension. If I was only going this far, now I can go about that far. It's a mobilization that you can do right before you do what I'm going to show you now, so you have some extra room. The last place that you get soreness is on the underside of the wrist here, and that's more of a cartilage issue that's coming from pinching and mostly on curls, and I'll show you what you do about it. But now the popular solutions, the things that you can instantly sort of pay attention to. On a bar, when you do bench press, people complain of wrist pain. Why? It's where they're holding the bar. So if I were to get down here and I were to hold the bar in my fingers like this, okay, watch what happens when I go and I lift out. If it's in my fingers, it's going to roll back and push all the way down into my wrist into extension there. You can see that's a lot of stress. Even just to hold this thing now is a lot. So what you want to do is you want to grip from the thumbs down. Don't grip from the fingers. Grip from underneath with the thumbs. So now what I do is I come underneath here. Now the bar is all the way in the bottom half. I wrap around that way and I come up out of there. Now look at the neutral position of the wrist. You see it's much more lined up straight here, this way, like that, flat, than it was way back here. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to do. The second thing, if you're doing push-ups, when I come down to the ground, if I were to do a push-up, I have a problem. Why? Because when I come down here, look at the position already. I'm getting that pinching. Again, this is more common that you'd feel it here, but you could feel it on the other side. So you do both things that I showed you right off to start the video. But if I'm here and I'm getting all this discomfort, the thing I can do is, number one, if I have strong enough hands, I can just do them on my knuckles. Because instantly now I'm going into that flat position. I'm getting rid of all that extension. And when I'm here, I come down and it's a lot less of a problem for me. Of course, if you wanted to, because this is a little uncomfortable for you, just grab two dumbbells, grab them, and do them that way. You're still going to have the same neutrality here on the back of the wrist, which is going to be perfect. So there's two problems. The next thing I mentioned, bicep curls. If you're doing a bicep curl and you're feeling that pain on the underside, a lot of times that comes from the fact that as you're trying to lift, you're kind of cheating, you're getting your elbows underneath, the weight is heavy. You can see that you're with your hands in the supinated position and getting your elbows in tight. You're basically weighting down right there the wrist into this position. Now if you want to make yourself hurt instantly, all you got to do is supinate as far as you can and then pull down this way. Okay, supinate and then pull on the top part of your thumb and pull down. You'll feel a pinch in here even if your wrist doesn't hurt. That's what's sort of being recreated there. So if you're getting that, number one, you can use an easy curl bar, which will put your hands in this position here. They'll put them less from here and more into this neutral position here, which will help. But if you don't have one and you're still going to do a straight bar, then what you want to do is you want to try to curl almost with the thumb and the forefinger. Okay? Obviously you wrap the other ones around, but by doing that, we're allowing ourselves to almost take a bit of a more neutral grip than instead of being all the way here. And it doesn't impact your ability to lift the weights. Again, I squeeze as hard as I can through these two fingers, let the third one come on and help a little bit, and then just comfortably wrap the fourth and fifth finger around. But I'm able to curl now without having all of that stress into that bottom position. And then finally, it's not all about upper body. Your wrist can actually bother you when you're doing leg training. So now, let's say I come up to the bar and I'm going to do a front squat. If you do a front squat, we know that the demands of the wrist in this position for this exercise are extreme. The amount of stretch that you have to be able to get into, again, on both this side and potentially on the back side here. So I don't even have the straps here to demonstrate. I have a band. Whatever you have, if you have the straps or a band, you literally would wrap this around and then come up underneath here and then wrap this around here. Again, with the straps, it's even easier. And then wrap it around your wrist. And then when you're up in here and you get ready to do your front squat, you're just holding on that way. So now when I hold, my hands are now in this neutral position, number one, and I don't have them bent all the way back here like that. Okay, now obviously the secret to the squat here, the front squat, is to be keeping the elbows up and the shoulders and the head up the whole time anyway. But the idea is that this takes the demand away from the wrist. And likewise, on a back squat, if we take this off, on a back squat, some people say that they can't get into that position either comfortably because they feel like they have to be here, like that. But you really don't even have to squat that way. A lot of times people will actually coach that with the squat, if you get your traps muscled up enough to rest them up there, or even in a back squat a little bit lower, you can actually just push in with your wrist in this position here. You don't even have to be gripping the bar. You basically locked it into place just by having the high shelf and pushing down from the forearms. And that actually feels great. So you don't have to even have the wrists involved if you don't, if that's a problem for you. It's something you might have to adapt to because it's a little bit new feeling, but it definitely will work. So there you go, guys. You now have something you can do if the pain is on this side. If the pain is on the back side, you've got, or more importantly, up in the joint itself, you've got the mobilization you can do. And then, of course, on some of the most popular exercises that people complain of wrist pain on, now you've got a weapon and a little tweak that you want to focus on to get you through those as well. In the meantime, guys, if you're looking for a program that doesn't ignore things like this, because obviously our bodies need to be working properly and able to do the exercise you want to do. So as a physical therapist, it really means something to me, and that's what we kind of put at the cornerstone of everything we do here at AthleanX, including all of our programs. If you head to athleanx.com right now, you can get any of our AthleanX training programs and start training a little bit smarter to allow you to train harder and get better results in the long run. In the meantime, if you found this video helpful, leave your comments and thumbs up below. Let me know what else it is that you're kind of suffering from, dealing with, issues, whatever. I'm glad to try to cover them in a future video here on this channel. All right, guys, see you soon.